Hello and welcome to what is a very much delayed highlights video from the Virtual Racers Club's most recent 2.5 hour race that took place around the 7 km long Spa circuit on the 21st of April. The gameplay footage used throughout this video was recorded from the post-race replay, occasionally using a split-screen double box to show pieces of the race from 2 points of view. It is almost race time as we now join on board with the Toyota going around the source, waiting for the 3-second countdown. There's 2.5 hours of racing and 75 laps ahead. And away we go, starting the race. Better start than anticipated, lifting off to avoid hitting the Nissan. Straight back on the power as we go down the hill and then back up through Radion. And we start off in the double box straight away with me on the right hand side and the number 19 Porsche on the left, heading towards Lecombe on lap 1. Slightly late on the brakes into the corner there, also a bit early onto the power on the wet track, spinning the car on lap 1, not the ideal start. Also losing 2 positions to the leading cars in the Group 3 category. Skipped a little bit later on into the opening lap and back into the double box. We've got the 99 car on the left this time. And just like that, car 99 on the left hand side, showing that anyone can spin on the opening lap. Just having to wait for the gap in the traffic to be able to rejoin safely. And now we've skipped forward to lap number 5 to see the first of the pit stops from one of the leading contenders. It's Matt Psycho with the number 16 Porsche, sponsored by the Sick Children's Trust. Tyre change onto the slick compound, no fuel added this time, straight back out again. Here we go with Matt just having come out of the pit lane, finding the conditions a little bit wet still, having a bit of a moment at Lecombe and ending up in the gravel trap on the outside of the corner. Skipping forward one more lap now till start of lap number 6, coming across the first of the lap cars, this one being the number 63 BMW. Nicely overtaking both that and the Nissan down the inside on the approach to Eau Rouge. And it's now coming out of Radion where we start to see the speed difference between my Toyota and the Nissan behind, as that approaches almost 190 miles an hour down the straight. However, due to the Nissan having higher tyre wear, it struggles for grip through the Lecombe chicane, and also struggles to the remainder of the laps, opening a gap to me ahead of just over 9 seconds. We've now skipped forward a couple of laps to lap 8, and as you can see the sun has come out. A couple of other cars have stopped. I'm now doing my first pit stop as well, changing from the wet tyres to a set of soft compound dry tyres. As we can see from the weather meter in the bottom corner of the screen, the track surface is still not completely dry. That'll be demonstrated better by looking on the left hand side of the double screen to see the Toyota hypercar losing control on a wet patch on the track, and then losing the position ahead and the position to me as I go past on the dry tyres on the left hand side of the track. However, we shall shortly see that I can also demonstrate the wetness of the track by having my own spin coming out of the pits after touching the inside and outside curbs coming out of the Lecombe chicane. This would allow the car number 7 to catch up all the advantage I had gained after following their spin only a few seconds earlier. This leads on to another double screen from Pouon around to Fagnes, with the number 7 hypercar on the right and me on the left, showing an attempted overtake and a spin by the number 7. This would then hand the position back to myself for the second time within the space of about a minute. We go forward another lap to lap number 9, still following the car number 7 up through Radion, and rather than going down the Camel Straight, the car decides to turn right and go into the wall, surprisingly avoiding any damage, but definitely won't help the progress in the race, extending the gap between me and him to over 25 seconds. We now move on to lap 13 for the first of 2 overtaking clips. The first coming up Radion, and down the left hand side is overtaking car 77 in the Genesis X, just at the start of the Camel Straight. Then caught up to the back of the small train of cars, the cars 20 and 13, going around the Bruxelles hairpin, through the corner that doesn't have a name, and then going into the double box to do the overtake around Pouon on car 20, up the inside where the gap wasn't quite as big as I thought it was, and then completing the move on the second car in a safer way after the Fagnes chicane on the approach to campus. Nicely done down the inside of the Jaguar. Going forward now onto lap 16. Up until this point I was still on the lead lap, however that changed on the approach to the corner, being passed by the, at the time, race leader Matt Seiko in the number 16 Porsche. We now move forwards onto a camera angle looking at a backwards angle for my car, onto lap 19, looking backwards at the Toyota hypercar, again demonstrating the naffness of straight line speed of the Toyota, breezing past after the run through Eau Rouge and Radion up the Camel Straight with what looks like a fairly easy overtake. Skipping a little later on into the lap, we go back into the double box and seeing the hypercar on the right hand side clipping the inside curb and taking a second spin at the Fagnes chicane, going across the infield and losing 10 seconds to me at this point in the race. We've now skipped onto what is lap 18 for the back marker in the 63 BMW, which was lap 22 for the leaders. As we see the BMW having a mechanical fault and going straight on into the barrier at the Bruxelles hairpin. After recovering here, gets overtaken firstly by the Genesis X, the Class 3 leader. Then going into the double box, we'll see that I approach going into the Pouon double left hand corner, having to take avoiding action, and then seeing on the left the hypercar just sneaking down the inside, the Jaguar Group 3 down the inside, and after a short gap the 66 Porsche doing the same. Now on to the start of lap 24. I've just exited De La Source hairpin, going down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion. I'm about to be overtaken for position and then lapped in quick succession, firstly by the number 7 Toyota hypercar, currently the further back of the two cars on screen, then by the race leading 66 Porsche, passing me one either side down the Camel Straight. We now move on to lap 29 and the sun has set and it's now fully dark. A little bit tight through the La Source hairpin there, catching the wall on the inside. Spinning the camera around, thinking what's this coming behind me and what's that coming over the hill. Is it the monster? It is, in fact, yes, the monster McLaren. Car 99 and my fellow Toyota coming to lap me fairly safely and nice and straightforward down the Kemmel Straight, done before the braking for the Lacombe chicane. We're still on lap 29, but we've gone a bit further around the lap, this time on the approach to Blanchimont, being passed again by Matt Psycho. He's taken the left hand line, I've stuck to the right, and as you can now see, the overtaking move executed successfully before Blanchimont, making the approach to the bus stop chicane nice and straightforward. It's at this point we also skip forward 2 more laps to lap 31 as I make my second pit stop of the race to go from one set of soft tyres to another, a full refuel, and then rejoin the circuit. We'll see here again as I've come out of the pit lane that the speed advantage of the Nissan enables him to go past on the Kemmel Straight approaching Lacombe. We also encounter the number 63 in the BMW again. This allows me to catch up and go around the outside line around the Bruxelles hairpin. At this point retaking the position and leading to what would be an optimistic overtake going into the nameless corner, which resulted in a bit more contact than what I initially thought was there at the time. I wouldn't, however, keep that position for very long as we approach Blanchimont and the bus stop chicane. I managed to maintain the position on track, however the car decided to add an extra turn into the bus stop chicane. The Nissan was able to go past on the inside without much difficulty. Going forwards onto lap 36 this time, coming round La Source hairpin, again going on to the double box with the number 7 hypercar on the left. Going from the exit of La Source to the braking zone for the Lacombe chicane was a gain of 1.7 seconds compared to my slower in a straight line Toyota, as you'll be able to see coming past fairly easily down the Kemmel Straight. I was able to keep up for the next few corners and the short spurt up to the Bruxelles corner. This time going for a slightly less aggressive and cleaner overtake down the inside of the no-name corner to regain P6 for about half a lap. And here will be the overtake again down the straight line approaching to Blanchimont with the greater speed of the hypercar overtaking easily before the bus stop chicane. Now going on to a double box on lap 44, this time it's from a front and rear view from my car, going wide on the no-name corner and taking car 19 behind with me. And that mistake would then be followed by the overtaking for lapping of car 19 and car 66. Car 66 would also overtake car 19 in the process. A couple of laps into the final third of the race on lap 54, making my final pit stop after a less than perfect entry to come back out on another set of fresh racing soft tyres. And coming out of the pit lane, be receiving blue flags, this time from my fellow Toyota in the number 99 monster McLaren livery, who would pass down the inside into the Lacombe chicane. On the next lap round on 56, I would come across two lap cars in the 77 and 23, overtaking both on the outside between Pouon and the inside of the Fagnes chicane. Here we are now going on to what is almost the end of the race at 2 hours and 19 minutes for the conclusion of the longest pit stop in the VRC and final retirement of the race for car 63. Be followed through by skipping to lap 71 to have a run down to Eau Rouge from the onboard camera from within my Toyota. Skipping forward now to the final lap of the race for the race leader trying to lap me, which for some reason I decided to defend on the last lap. That would then be completed on the second half of the Pouon corner. Skipping a bit later in the lap to see the race leader and winner Matt Psycho doing the back half of the final sector from the external cameras. A nice tiny line through the bus stop chicane, and that would see him finish the race and win his second endurance race for the Virtual Racers Club around Spa. A few seconds later then I would also finish the race. And now moving on to the full race results. A win for Matt Psycho in the end by a minute and 41 seconds, leading home an all-Porsche podium. The best of the Toyotas finished in P4 with a late driver change, the Porsche 919 finishing in 5th. The Toyota Hypercar finished in P6 ahead of me in 7th, and the Nissan in P8. Hamsikalian won the Group 3 race in the Genesis X by over a lap, finishing ahead of the second place number 13 Jaguar. Both of the BMWs that made it to the end finished 3rd and 4th, and the number 80 Jaguar was the last to finish. The two non-finishers this time being the 3rd BMW and the only Mazda entered into the race.
PlayStation